you come outside, you won't get anything.
After almost 2 years under President Akufo-Addo, exactly how much faith do you put in the promises government churns out every year in the annual budget statement? Was 2018 all it promised to be? How confident are you that 2019's budget will transform the economy and improve your life? We connect after a summary of the news.
But I think since we are yet to go in 2019, maybe we just wait and see how it's going to come out. Is it feasible? That's the question we're supposed to be asking. I'm quite interested in the 2.5 billion US dollars for the industry here in Ghana. We are crying for jobs and employment and all that. So if there's an amount like this for just industry here in the country, I'm just being hopeful that it works out correctly.
I didn't watch the whole 3.5 hours, I guess.
It's 6:12. Hello, good evening. You're welcome to Ghana Connect. You're live on Joy 99.7 FM, and my name is Kojo Yankson. Now, 174 pages of promises and policies delivered in a 3.5-hour speech outlining how over 200 billion cedis will be taken from and spent on 30 million people over the course of 2019. That is the sum of what happened in Parliament on Thursday when the Finance Minister delivered the budget statement. For some, it was full of good news.
When they read budget in Ghana, what they read on the day is different from what they do when the year comes. So today's budget, they have mentioned a lot about the importers. Because we saw the same thing last year. They told us that there will be a reduction in the taxes, the import taxes and import duties. But yet we are crying for it. So what shows that they will do it this time?
Every year they have reading the budget. To me, Ababoso can have not get any benefit from it. The same thing. They will say it's sweet there, but when you go to the market or when you go to the port or wherever it is, I've not been getting anything from it. So for me, I can say the whole day, since morning when the man started about the budget, I haven't listened to radio because it's the same story. They will send you sweet on the pyramid there. When you come outside, you won't get anything.
Yes, good news, but certainly not for these folks. For them, it was full of old news. But tonight, we connect across the country to answer the only question about the budget that matters. How was it for you? After what many describe as the over-promising and under-delivering of the 2018 budget, do you have faith that the economy in 2019 will be as good as the Finance Minister says it will? How hopeful are you that government's promises and undertakings for the next year will actually address the specific challenges of your life? Tonight, we connect with Irabna Ajiman, co-founder of Wear Ghana, a fashion label here in Accra. Clement Boateng, a member of the Spare Parts Dealers Association. Kwame Opong, a contractor. Auntie B, a market trader. And Lord Apia Dankwa, Secretary of the Circle Youth Traders Association. Ladies, gentlemen, good evening. Thank you for connecting with us.
Good evening.
Now, the ladies I've met before, I know you both. It's nice to see you both. But the gentlemen, I'm very keen to hear your thoughts, particularly on the budget. Now, let's go to the moment before the budget was read. Now, Kwame, you're a contractor, right? Kwame? Right. Actually, here in the studio, we have Lord Apia Dankwa. No. Yeah, you're Lord. Wonderful. So, Lord, you're the Secretary of the Circle Youth Traders. Now, before the budget was read, how was your assessment of 2018? How did 2018 go for you as a trader here in the capital?
Okay, thank you for asking, and I'll say good evening to your cherished listeners. And I will say 2008 budget initially was full of joy. We had high expectation for the budget. We believe that the budget, as they named Asempa budget, will have a lot of Asempa in it for us. So hopefully the budget had a lot of Asempa in it. But to our disappointment, the Asempa really didn't reflect as we we planned, because we had high visions, and then we were thinking things were going to be so fine after the budget was read. But we realized things were almost the same after the budget was read. So that was our expectation. This 2019 budget, in Puntuo budget, because of my disappointment or our disappointment in 2018, is it a Sempa budget? We weren't paying so much attention to this budget, because we were like, probably even the Ahoto budget didn't bring any improvement to our businesses and our lives. And we weren't so much interested in following this one. So that was
So you actually ended up missing a lot of what was said.
Actually, I was watching, but I wasn't paying attention. I was in my shop watching though, but really didn't have a lot of concentration.
Did anything stick? Was there anything you heard that you thought?
A lot of infrastructure development. We're talking about railway lines, roads, paying back DKM.
Yeah,
I heard giving 10 to expand the tax front or the tax line. I think I heard about farming. I heard about one district, one factory. And then I heard about Maslock, 2 million Ghana cedis for Maslock. And I think I heard something about business development, $100 billion for business development. So that was what I was listening to, certain pieces of it, but they didn't pay so much attention to it. That was what I can recall. I do remember.
Does anyone else here identify with what he just said? Did it sort of breeze past you without you paying much attention as they were reading the thing? Anyone?
It did. For me, yesterday I wasn't able to listen to the full thing because we had stuff going on at Square Ghana. And so in preparing for the program, I called a couple of big entrepreneurs and people in other fields to ask what stood out for you. And the resounding message was, hey, we've tuned out.
Wow.
We've tuned out. There was nothing new. We really didn't care.
Now, anyone else? I'll take everyone's views on this particular question before we move on, because it's interesting to hear how disconnected some of you were. How about you, Ebenezer?
So I think that it's not a secret that it's a difficult time in the country. For businesses, for individuals, for everybody, it's a little complex. However, for me, it seemed to me that the government recognizes the challenge in the market, and so it seemed like they were being conscious around what don't we do, or what should we do not to go and take people off to the extreme. And so I think that it's obvious that there was a lot of thought put into it. And right now, for me, it's about looking out and saying what can come out of this new budget. What will happen differently that hasn't happened. And it's difficult to predict what will happen, but it's also best to be more optimistic rather than to be pessimistic.
Right.
And so for me, I think I take in all of this more hope, and I would say I want to eliminate pessimism and be more encouraged about the future.
Okay, let me challenge that a little bit, Ebenezer. Tell me the specific things you heard that are feeding your enthusiasm.
Okay, the first thing I want to say is that I'm not enthused.
Okay. All right. You're encouraged but not enthused.
I'm not enthused.
I'm with you, okay.
I'm just deciding that there are two ways of handling challenging situations.
Right.
One way is to say there's no good in this thing. The another way is to say let's see what good we can make out of this.
Okay.
So
it's not that you heard something that made you think, oh, you know what, I should be excited. No, you didn't hear anything at all, but you've just decided that in spite of a lack of reason, you will be excited.
Yeah, well, not be excited, but
positive.
So for example, today I was having a conversation with some people, and I'm saying countries have gone through challenges, and I was asking a question: can we list 50 businesses that have survived 50 years in Ghana? It's a difficult adventure to look for 50 companies that have survived 50 years in Ghana.
Yeah.
But there are countries where they had world wars and companies have survived First World War, Second World War, and they are still going. We have not had that kind of situation, and it could be worse.
Right.
And so I think that it's more saying, I have a business, I have customers to handle. What can I do differently, even in the midst of the complex?
It's an interesting thought. To put it in context, though, it's not just about surviving 50 years. It's about doing well, right, for 50 years. Yeah, you could have been breaking even for 50 years. That wouldn't be much to write home about. That, by the way, is Ebenezer Lati. He's the CEO of Market Express. They're an online retailer. You can find them right now if you look them up online. But also with us, and we're very excited they could make it, Auntie B is a market trader. Also here, Rabina, you've heard already, is from Where Ghana. And of course, we have Lord, who is a member of the Circle Traders Association, and then Clement.
Yeah,
yes,
I'm the co-chair
Clement
of
Boate.
Right
now, I've got to tell you, I'm saving Auntie B for last because I have a special question for her. But you know, the spare part traders, they're a sort of a barometer sometimes for how Ghanaians feel about how the economy is doing, how government is performing. So I'm very keen to hear your thoughts on 2019. Did you have a tick box? Were you able to tick a few of the things you want to see happening in 2019 after hearing the budget read?
Yeah, Kojo, if you happen to be in my shop yesterday, you could see that I was very busy, sitting, behind my desk and listening to the presentation of the budget, because I had high expectations.
So you were not disconnected like some people. You were connected.
I was very much connected.
All right.
Because I had some expectations which I thought definitely the minister was going to touch on those expectations.
Right.
But it didn't happen.
What were those expectations?
Yeah. Talking from the business perspective, I was looking forward for the minister to touch on the policies and measures that they have put in place to check the free falling of our cedi.
Right.
If you could bear with me, for the past 3, 4, 5 months, the rate at which the cedi was falling was very alarming. It's just about 2-3 weeks ago that it has been a bit, stable.
Yeah.
So I was looking forward for measures that they have put in place, to check the free fall of our cedi. But nothing of that sort happened. I was also looking forward to hear from the minister the weekly review of the exchange rate at the ports. As you are aware, even though we pay duties in cedis, it's always calculated in dollars and converted into cedis for us to pay. So we have time and again said that weekly, review of the exchange rate must be pegged quarterly.
Right.
To enable us, make projections and then also make prices a bit, stable for consumers. So I was thinking that the minister will touch on that. Nothing happened. I was also expecting the minister, to talk about a total review, a total overhaul of the duties and taxes that we are paying at the port. If I were to bring a duty paper for you here to see, you see that we have about 16 or 17 components of levies and taxes that we pay at the port. And we were expecting the minister, to prune down all those levies and taxes so that what we are paying currently at least will be brought to a little bit downward, so that, as you are aware, businessmen are complaining that they pay a lot at the ports. So we're expecting the minister, to touch on that. Nothing happened. The only thing that I was expecting, and then the minister touched on it, was about exemptions issues. There are a lot of companies in this country that enjoy a lot of tax exemptions when it comes to import duties. And it seems to abuse, that exemption. Yeah. So the minister said they have prepared a policy, to be taken to Parliament next year for them to, review that policy. I think it was a step in the right direction.
That's interesting.
Yes.
So, I mean, you are not one of those companies that enjoys the exemptions, right?
No.
So, in actual fact, this is something that affects you indirectly, not directly.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So,
Because
not a lot of ink on your tick.
If all those tax exemption companies, were to pay something, it will go to, to boost government, revenue, so that the reduction of levies and taxes that we are talking about, can be taken into consideration. So if I give you the statistics, just last year, about 132,000 20-footer containers were cleared without paying anything. And if those companies were to pay at least maybe 10,000 Ghana cedis, you can imagine revenue government would have had.
But the point I'm seeking to make here is that this is an indirect effect. That would affect all of us.
Yes.
That would be good for all of us.
Yes.
But nothing in there that you could say, you know what, this is good for me.
If I want to talk from the spare parts perspective, or even the business perspective, I would say I didn't hear anything on this particular budget, which goes to benefit the businessman.
Wow, that is that's quite a statement. Now, Auntie B, first of all, let me check. Did you also listen, or were you a bit like Ebenezer or
I was
or Lord?
And listen to it at the same time.
more sleeping or more listening? Which one? By the way, you can join this conversation. You can connect with us as well. Just send through a WhatsApp on 0244340437, and we will share your thoughts right here on Ghana Connect. Now, Auntie B, one of the things that they mentioned, I don't know whether it was while you were listening or sleeping, but they talked about this introduction of the compulsory TIN numbers. If you're doing business, if you're working, if you're not working, anybody at all should have a TIN number. This is how government wants to make sure that all of us are in the system, so that the economy can be formalized. They will know who is earning what, who is spending what, so that they know how to tax everybody. Auntie B, do you have a TIN number?
Who did they send to the market to teach us about tin? We are just in the market, we buy and we sell. Now, if you ask me even about the economy, I will tell you, if I go and I sell, the economy is good. If I don't sell, the economy is bad. So when you ask me about something like tin, I would say you have to explain what thing is so that I get connected with it. Then I will know how to answer that question.
Do you know, this answer alone has informed us a lot about how far government has gone in their own intentions to make this TIN number thing work.
I know the T and the I and the N have meanings.
Yes.
The abbreviations of
tax identification number, I believe that's what it stands for.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is that everyone must have this number. You register for it. It's free. They'll give you one. So everybody can have a number. But you need it so that if you want to get free healthcare from NHIS, they will ask you for your TIN number. If you want your child to get free SHS, they will ask you for your TIN number. So everybody must have one just so you can access these services. But also it means that government then has you on their record, and they know that you, Auntie B, with TIN number 00 whatever, you work here in the market. So they can monitor. When you send mobile money, they know how much mobile money you are sending. When you receive, they know. So that's how government wants to formalize the economy so that they can tax everybody correctly. But as you asked, have they sent anyone to the market to teach you about tin? I'm guessing the answer is no, right?
Yes.
Wow. But before the budget was read, before the 3.5 hours of listening and sleeping, what was your own expectation? What were you hoping to hear that government is going to do in 2019?
I was expecting that something good might come out of it, in a sense that a lot of people were complaining they are not selling, they are not buying, high rate of taxes, and the CD depreciating and the rest. So I was expecting the finance minister to highlight us on how to stabilize the CD. And then maybe perhaps feel something in our pockets. When we go to sell, people should buy so that we make profit and then we feel the impact in our pocket. So that was my expectation.
Okay. Well, from somebody who was listening, Clement, he says that Clement was listening all the way through, but he says he didn't hear anything in that direction, especially about how the city will be stabilized. So this is an important thing for all of you who are in industry. The city's performance is important, right? How was it for you in 2019? We all know it wasn't a great year for the city, but how was it for you? What was the real impact, Irabna?
It's not just the city, Kojo, and so one wants to be measured. It wasn't just the city. It's just a general sense of, I think people are disappointed. There was a lot of expectation coming into 2018. People had hope. And then somewhere in the middle, people just realized this isn't going the way we thought it was going. For us as a business, I mean, I think that's what Eben was trying to say, that when you step out as a business person, you're trying to encourage yourself. You need to, because there are not a lot of external factors encouraging you. The economy being one of them. And so we've tried to climb over whatever needed to be climbed over to reach the targets that we had. But it's not just the CD falling. For me, sometimes it's even in the spirit of the way the budget is read. Like in acknowledging that things haven't gone well, there's a way to say it. There's a way to bring people on board. Some of the decisions that are made, there's a way to bring people on board for us all to know that we are in this together. And sometimes that's missing. And I think that's when people tune out, when they realize, oh, so I'm suffering alone and other people are having it easy. So, yeah.
That's an interesting and important point. I'll double check quickly before I come to Lord. I'll double check quickly with Clement, because you listened. Did you hear the government acknowledging that things didn't go so well in 2018?
Well, I think so. I think in the preamble to the presentation of the budget, I think the minister acknowledged that things has not been.
There's been a tough year.
Yes, he did that. Because I think everybody is aware that the year hasn't been all that rosy, and people have been complaining.
But I wondered if does anybody identify with what Irabna was saying? That really, when you listen to it, it sounds like they are actually patting themselves on the back. That this went well, that went well. The macroeconomic, this was that, and this and that,
and just to add to that, Kojo, you see, you don't come into the budget with a blank mind. You come into the budget with all the happenings of the year and all the decisions that have been made. And so it's not like we come in to now be told. We've been here. We've seen some of the things that have happened. And so when you come in, even if you set a preamble and say, oh, it's been a bad year, and then you go and you're high-fiving each other, well...
Yes. Well, there were some hugs at the end. I noticed that. No high fives, but I saw some hugs. Yes. They seem to have a lot of love for each other at the end of it. But Clement, not to burst your bubble or anything, because you have decided to be positive about things, and I respect that. But how did it feel hearing them tout successes in a year that didn't go as well for you as you had wanted?
So for me, I agree with Rabna about acknowledgement, that it was necessary to acknowledge that it was a challenging year. So I'll give you an example. In the media review, we remember the VAT thing.
Yeah.
Okay. That was argued that it wasn't an increment of tax, but it was clear for everybody in manufacturing that you had a 5% increase in everything you were doing. I went to a factory that were struggling to do even how to pay their VAT was a challenge, because some of them you are paying upfront when you've not even earned it, you know. And if you're in manufacturing, it's complex. It's really, really complex. And so imagine that it was a year where everything went up by 5%, a minimum.
Yeah.
One of my friends says, when I calculate everything, we have an additional cost of about 11%.
Right.
And so it wasn't that simple, and nobody was able to brace themselves for that because they were told that this was not an increment.
Right.
You
Right.
know? But coming back to my position, and I think my position is it's bad, it's challenging, it's a storm, but I think that we as Ghanaians are resilient. For anybody who's an entrepreneur, for you to be able to step out and say, I'm going to sacrifice everything and I'm going to go into business, you need a very tough skin.
Yeah.
The sad thing is that sometimes these things are counterproductive for government. And so government's aim is that we want to increase revenue with all these tight measures. But many countries that have gone this path have inherited the negative of it, where you have people who will not comply and you will not get the revenues you want. And so there's a balancing act that's required. You know, it's necessary that as we jack up the rates, we are also conscious that there's a human face to it where it makes people feel like, okay, it's not as bad as, but if it's just, we need to get more money. For example, my nanny asked me, so I'm going for a 10. My nanny is 60-something years old.
Yeah.
So she asked me, are they going to tax me too? I am retired. You know? I mean, I can't answer those questions. You know?
Yeah.
But she's 60-something and helping a family. You know? And so it's a difficult time. But I agree that we need to include more people into the tax net. And maybe the way to do it is to go hard now and maybe get easier in the future. Or, I don't know. So it's a roller coaster for all of us.
Still feeling quite positive though? Yes?
Well, I have made a decision. So.
Well, indeed. Now, of course, earlier when you were explaining the situation to me, Lord, you talked about how it all sounds the same to you now. You know, so last year they said a lot. The year didn't pan out. This year they've said a lot. So does this mean you're bracing yourself for another bad year?
Really? I would say, to start with, I would say people have high expectation of this government, to be precise. So probably that's why we are not too much comfortable with the things that they are doing. Today, I heard the finance minister on Peace FM, and he seems to, when Kwame asked him a question that, are they really doing well? He seems to tout their flagship programs, and then he think they are doing well. But it's all good. They are doing well. We wouldn't know what we'll have gained if free SHS or other things were not in.
Right.
But for traders, I would say governments, and not this particular government, I think successive governments, I really don't know whether they don't have traders who are occupying ministry position. Because sometimes it beats my imagination that Togo here, we have people from Tudu going to Togo to buy clothes and come and sell. Mobile phone repairers, mobile phone dealers, we go to Nigeria for parts. And today the Nigerians are here. I don't really understand why we can't reduce our taxes for us to also, because in Nigeria they don't do those things there. In Togo they don't do it there. But we buy Forex and we go there to trade, which is giving them much revenue, and then we are shooting ourselves in our legs. So I'm thinking there will be a day where such things will be revealed, some things will be reviewed, and traders in Ghana, people outside Ghana can also come here and come and trade. Like we have people from Burkina. If you use the Ofankwa Pokwase Amasaman road, you could see Burkina registered cars, trucks, cargo going in there and out. So can't we do something to our taxes so that we could attract businesses ourselves, rather than leaving anything as it is? And the easiest way, putting taxes on fuel, putting taxes on, recently beer, we have this rubber, and then now pure water is 30 pesos. Just taxing everything because we believe it's the easiest. The thing will help, but at least you should make sure that businessmen are comfortable. Because if a Nigerian businessman, we, especially myself, I bring my things through the port.
Yeah.
So everything is checked. Recently, we were with Ghana Investment Promotion Center when the traders were agitating about the foreigners flooding our market. And then we went on a check with Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Ghana Standard Authority, Immigration, and other institutions. And we realized most of the Nigerians, they don't have import duties on their product they bring in.
How are they pulling it off?
Nobody is checking. So you could realize they could sell something very relatively cheaper than you sell. So they are always selling. And they believe in trade. But it seems in our part of the society, we don't believe trade is even something that someone have to learn. But you need to learn how to trade. The Nigerians come here, they have their people, you serve them for 5 years, he'll give you money to start up. And today, as I speak to you, they are more than us in circle. So what is the government really doing?
Wow.
Sometimes these are the things I want to hear. We wake up and we agitate, we say a lot of things, but it seems it falls on deaf ears.
Do you have the same problem in the market, Auntie B? Foreigners, are there foreigners who are also competing with you in the market?
Plenty.
What sort of things are they selling?
They sell everything, and they go and buy the things. Whichever currency they use, they have access to it. They buy, they come and sell. And they sell cheaper than what we are producing here. You see, this is what is happening. So, in actual fact, when you go to the market, you just sit down to watch and then come back.
Oh, it's
true.
It's really disturbing.
It's true.
You open your shop and then you won't get a new customer coming in on a daily basis. And probably the old ones.
Even with foodstuffs, people are not buying.
But everybody eats, even in a recession. People eat.
Buying.
They are not buying food.
Yes.
So what are they doing instead?
You go out, buy a box of, let's say, tomato. You come and you can sell a box of tomato within 2 days. Meanwhile, the authorities are there to give you the whatever. What do you call that thing? Tax.
Yes.
Ticket.
Yeah.
1 cedi a day. And if you are not fortunate to sell your box of tomato within 2 or 3 days, that particular box will attract a fee of 3 cities. So at the end of it, what do you gain? Nothing. Tomorrow you have to buy. You have to go back and buy. One thing about the market woman, she is never discouraged. She thinks if she doesn't make it today, tomorrow she will do it.
Yeah.
So either you increase it or you don't increase it, she will definitely buy. You see it? And she will sell.
Yeah. She's
a very good calculator. She doesn't use calculator in calculating, but she knows how to buy and sell and make profit. If she doesn't make profit today, she'll still go and buy, and she'll make sure she make profit. She doesn't lose her capital.
Wow. Well, the circumstances are certainly forcing the market woman to be even more enterprising these days. All right, but I'm also curious about some of the other things in the budget that may not be directly related to buying and selling, but are supposed to be good for us, like free SHS. Auntie B, I'm looking at you while I'm saying this. I know you are not an SHS student, but I'm sure you are happy that SHS is free. Do you benefit? Does your family benefit from that in some way? Is that good?
Free SHS.
Yeah.
We thank the government very well for implementing that thing, but we are just disappointed. Let me bring it down. The government should have exercised a little restraint about implementing these free SHS. In my opinion, I think the government should have engaged all stakeholders to bring out their views, including the market women. You know, we give birth to plenty children because we don't care about how to even manage them. We know when we sell, we by all means get money to manage them. So when the government brought in the free SHS, it was a laudable idea. We all embrace it. But it should have rather gone this way. Since it's a piloting program, the government should have given full-time scholarship to the less privileged, so that starting from that scholarship, then the following year he assesses it, and then he knows where to bring in more. You see it? But this free SHS, our children are there, and when they come home, it's a hell of a problem.
The double track thing, is that what you're talking about? Some go and some come.
The SHS on its own. You see, if it had been a full-time scholarship to the less privileged, those who can afford to pay will be paying. And then those who cannot afford to pay, the headmasters and the headmistresses knows them in the school. So they will be locating them and picking them to send them to the higher authority for them to be located and then giving this full-time scholarship. So it will not have come to the extent of telling parents now that if you are in the position of pay. If you are not, it should have started that these people who wouldn't have access to payment will be given scholarships, so that those who can afford to pay will pay. I think if the government has done it that way, it would have been a better something.
Well, they are saying that they will still make it free for everyone. It's expected to cost almost 3 billion.
This huge amount of money that is going into it will be going there again, and we will be suffering still. Because let's say somebody doesn't have a baby at all, and then this punishment, he's also receiving it. How?
Wow. Quite a question. I wish I could answer it. All right, let's talk about another thing that has been topical this year in terms of our economy, and that is the banking crisis. And yes, it is a crisis. I mean, 7 banks over the past 2 years collapsed. 7 banks. How has it affected you? I don't mind who starts. How has it affected you?
The government has not been fair with some of us at all. You know what? We have our children finishing school, and fortunately, some of these banks have employed them. We see them in uniforms, we see them with their cute coats and their heels, and we are happy. Some of them, the boys, they immediately rent maybe a single room, self-contained, and then they leave the house for you and your husband or whoever to
start
enjoy.
Misbehaving again.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, you see, after the banks collapsing, they are all at home now, and they are inside our small something with us. So you see how it's affecting us. After thinking of them finding what they will eat or what they will do, we are still not even comfortable with our husbands in our small something. You see, after the day's work, we are almost tired, and we need something.
Auntie B, this is a personal complaint.
Now they are all in the house, and we don't even have access to something that will be comforting us. It's a terrible thing we are suffering.
I see what you mean.
And as they were reading the budget, I was thinking that the government, the finance minister, will have a way of even cooling us by saying that they are finding a way to revamp or whatever the banks again. But it didn't appear in it. Why?
So your problem continues. I feel your pain.
Yeah, because you on this, challenges, facing the banks, which has led to consolidation of about, I think 5 banks.
5 banks recently.
It's something which is very much worrying, and it's not helping with the businessmen. You see, currently, if you even have your own money in the banks and you want to go and make some withdrawals, it's a hell. If you go there and maybe you want to make a withdrawal of maybe 5,000 above, they are not in a position to to give it to you. And I think the Banking and Supervision Department of Bank of Ghana must be up and doing. I don't know whether previously they were not doing their work well, because if they had been doing their work well, I don't think we will arrive at this situation. But I think the presentation of the budget, the minister touched on that they have set up an office. Yes, they say they have set up an office which is going to deal periodically with these banks. They are going to check their books periodically, so that those ones left may not fall also into this trap.
How confident are the rest of you with those ones left, as Clement describes them, the banks that exist today? How confident are you dealing with them?
Okay. So I wear two hats. So my background is banking.
Okay.
And so the issue in the banking sector, I personally do not think it's a government thing. I think it's a pure corporate governance thing. And unfortunately for us, we had to have our own experience. These things have happened in many, many countries, and we didn't have to have our own experience. So I think that the government had to cough up a lot of money, at least 14 billion cedis, to rescue all these banks. I don't think any bank or any government or any central bank wants to do this again, because it's our money that we could have used for other things that we are using to bail out these banks. And so I think that if we look at what the consequence will be if this happens again, it will be senseless to allow this to happen. And so I'm kind of optimistic that it may not happen again. My only disappointment in all of this was I think that some of the banks could have been restructured and made a lower tier bank. Now we only have one tier. It's either you are a big commercial bank or nothing. And then if there's nothing between savings and loans and banks.
Right.
So my only disappointment is that there were some of the entities that could either have been downgraded or could have been helped to be in a different tier where they don't necessarily play in the big league. And if we had done that, many businesses may also have the opportunity. Sometimes you won't be able to get a loan in the commercial banks. You won't also be able to bear the interest rate of the savings and loans, but there's nothing in between. So people then decide, what, banking is not an option for me, but we can't have an economy like that, because banks are the oil that basically makes the economy fluid, So
you personally, in terms of how you access banking services, has it gone up or gone down? Are you now saving a little bit under your mattress?
So I think that it's safer to deal with a bank, and so I cannot decide that I will not deal with a bank. However, I am clear in my mind that there's no bank that, if I need help today, are willing. Banks are focused on deposit taking in this country, and they don't want to do credit. They don't even want to analyze credit. They want businesses that are successful by themselves. Yeah. They've done everything. They are capable.
Yeah. The ones who need credit the least.
And then they say they'll be chasing you, basically. Yeah. Yes. And so I am not in a position where banks will chase me. But my goal is to get there. And then let's see if they will chase me.
I pray for all of you. May banks chase you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, now, Rabna, I mean, you operate a business, and you can't do without banking. But we see the panic withdrawals. We've seen them happening with institutions that had nothing to do with this recent, crisis. But people are rushing there for their money. Are you one of these?
I am not. And now I'm at the point where I'm questioning whether they are really panic withdrawals. Because I know someone who, and I won't mention the name of the institution, but has been trying to get their money from this institution, which has been out there saying, we are fine, we are fine, we are fine. And it's not the way it is. They are not fine. And for me, the biggest disappointment when it comes to the banking crisis has been the way it makes Ghanaian businesses look. So suddenly, if it's a Ghanaian bank, there's a big question mark, and it doesn't end on a Ghanaian bank. It's like every Ghanaian businessman is now being questioned because of the lack of integrity that was displayed and the scale of it. I'm not withdrawing. I don't even the money. I don't even have.
That's your story, and you're sticking to it, right? Now, Lord, I know that you know this is an important point being made about the integrity, the lack of integrity that this has demonstrated. But if banks are not willing to support small businesses, to lend you money at favorable rates so that you can expand your business, do more, make more, what exactly is the alternative route to growth right now as you think about your future? What is plan B if you know a bank can't help you?
If a bank can't help you, and if a bank can't help, a bank won't help you unless you can help yourself. Because no bank can give you a loan if they believe you are not capable of paying. So no bank will help you. But then to speak about what my fellow panelists spoke of, the banking issue, I believe some people should be jailed. It's taking too long a time. Because looking at the issues that went into this banking crisis, it was somebody just slept on his work. And then if somebody is sleeping on his work, you can't just make government, which here government means all of us, to pay for someone's mess. Because if you are going to look at what went through Bait Capital, and people were giving bailouts, and then they used the bailout to open another bank or the construction bank, it's mere incompetence on part of people. People just joke with us. People that we paid, people that we expected to take care of our money. Because these banks, and with Bait Capital, I realized they didn't even have the capital required. So who then gave the person that? Who then gave him the license? From savings alone, before we could realize this all over the country, who was watching the watchman? Who was making sure things were done proper? And if they are not using their own money. They are taking depositors' money. And people were just sitting down aloof, and all this thing was going on. Nobody to check nothing. And today it's affecting us. Somebody gave me a check of 3,000 cedis. 3,000 cedis. I gave it to one bank that I won't mention the name. So I gave it to the lady that, okay, can you help me cash out this check? The check stayed with the lady for about a week. So I was angry with her. And I was like,
This is a bank, a commercial bank?
It's not a commercial bank.
Okay.
It's savings and loan.
Okay.
So then I asked the lady, why? And then she told me I should come for my money. And I asked her why. She said if she placed the check in, yes, they will receive the money because it was a company to company check. They will take the money, but for her to pay me will be difficult. So I should come for my check. So I have to tell the other company to pay it into a friend's bank. So I used a friend's company name to receive that money. This is what we are facing.
Wow.
So when I hear of this banking issue, I get emotional and I get angry.
We've got less than a minute left to wrap things up, but we've been getting some of your messages through. We'll have Parker Wilson read a few of them to you so that we know how you, listening to us, have consumed the budget and whether you saw yourself in it or not. Parker.
Right, Kojo, so just a quick one. This one says, good evening, Kojo. For the first time, I didn't feel the need to listen to the budget reading. I just don't see the need to, because it is not going to see the light of day. It has never been, and it's from Doreen Dentana. This one says, Kojo, the issue about tin is a misplaced priority, or literally building the structure without a foundation. I have the tin, but how is government going to tax me? I live outside the country, and to clear my goods, they ask me to get the tin. The point is that these goods are going to be cleared by an agent. So generating a tin wouldn't be the right thing to do. And finally, this one says that government have always been looking for new areas to raise more revenues, but are not considering how efficient they are using those that have already been taken from us. And it's from Ning Aite. Now, Kojo, you know that we had to run a poll, and quickly we're asking the question, are you confident that the 2019 budget will make things better for you? 56.52% are saying yes, that the budget clearly will make things better for them within the year 2019. And 43.47% says no, the budget definitely wouldn't do any good thing for them.
Okay, it's close, but clearly more optimism than pessimism. I want to thank all of you for connecting with us tonight. Irab Najiman is a co-founder of Wear Ghana, a fashion label. Clement Boateng is a member of the Spare Parts Dealers Association. Ebenezer Latte, CEO of Market Express, online retailers. Auntie B is a market trader. And Lord Apia Dankwa, Secretary of Circle Youth Traders. My name is Kojo Yankson. I'm overjoyed you could join us right here on Joy 99.7 FM. Let's do it again soon. Good night.